What kind of reality we will see in the future mostly depend on whether big tech companies will have control on who has access to artificial intelligence.
These are David and Daniel Lieberman, investors and founders who sold their company to Snap. Now they're building Gonka, a decentralized AI network designed to make AI more open and affordable so anyone can win with it.
Do you know what is the share of Dario Amodei, founder of Anthropic, creator of Claude, in his own company?
What is it?
1.5%.
Oh, really?
People who build it, people who brought their values into this, they are not in control anymore.
What should people be doing now to thrive in 2 or 3 years?
Everything will be disrupted. Every single job will be disrupted.
How much time do we have? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Silicon Valley Girl. I have my amazing friends today, Lieberman brothers. They're not only friends who I've known since 2015, they're also my first investors who believed in me. And the whole round that happened in 2021, which became the first ever venture round in a creator, happened because of you guys. Thank you so much.
Because of you.
Thank you for believing in me. And yeah, it's fascinating to see how much happened after that. You've been in technology circles and building stuff for a while. So I really want to focus on what's going on right now and what's happening with AI. And AI has been the most discussed technological revolution in the past 2 years. But what I'm noticing, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this will agree, that we're talking a lot about AI. And obviously it's changing life for coders because a lot of people generate 80% of their code, maybe more. But when you take an ordinary person, yes, the search is better now. The productivity's maybe up, but there hasn't been a life-changing event for humanity yet. So do you think AI is overhyped?
I would start with contradicting to what you said. The life changed because people started trusting one source of information, like in a chat, like, what is this? What is that? And they don't check multiple sources as they used to with the internet. And this is something pivotal, honestly, already. Therefore, we will have some consequences about that already from this point. When was the last time you were actually doing your research in Google? Not through the ChatGPT or other platform with agents doing all the swarming research for you and stuff. This changed. We somehow started trusting this technology, which not always is correct.
Yeah.
What kind of reality we will see in the future mostly depend on whether someone will be able to gain access to artificial intelligence. If artificial intelligence will be freely accessible by every human on Earth, if it will become actually commodity when it's cheap, as cheap as possible, then each of us for sure will use AI to increase our productivity, but definitely another scenario is possible if big tech firms will be able to gain the access and decide who can have the access or not.
I'll give you an example. Someone recently asked us about what about the plumbers? Will they be actually replaced with the robots or with AI? What's going to happen there?
Yeah.
How can AI actually make innovation in there? In our house, where we moved 3 years ago, for this past 3 years, we had the problem with hot water. And we were complaining to the landlord. He called for the plumber several times. They came there, oh, you need to replace the entire heating system. It's going to be very expensive. And then at some point, we basically pointed the ChatGPT through the camera into the piping system. And it's what's wrong here? And the chat said, looks like it's missing one small part here, like a pipe, which will actually close a loop here and blah, 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 blah. So we started discussing with this problem with the plumbers. After 3 years, we now have instant hot water with just one
But
tiny...
you still needed physical labor, yes?
Absolutely. But imagine that it's not us who should convince the plumber that they should do this job, but the AI in their own earpiece, which is looks like there's this stuff missing there, and they fixed everything at the first time when we called them 3 years ago. And they were oh, best guys ever, 5 stars, you fixed the problem, hooray. Instead, we were suffering for 3 years before actually AI came in.
Do you see any jobs completely being disrupted when we don't need those people at all?
Like, I mean, drivers, like the cars will be driving themselves, but the people inside of the car can still be there. I mean, like for services, safety, whatever.
This is actually a good example of the industry which had a chance to gradually adapt. If all the drivers will see the future will be
definitely
self-driving. And if they would invest in joining forces together, in building the future together, instead, when people, they're reluctant to participate in the innovation, and when they use innovations in the passive form, when they just consumers, they don't understand that they actually can also contribute. Eventually, 15 years later, their profession can be disrupted.
Such job.
So actually, for every profession, there will be enough time to adapt. If you actually see that the future is coming.
Like clearly accept.
Yeah.
Everything will be disrupted. Every single job will be disrupted.
How much time do we have?
It depends on what the profession.
For some professions,
it's like next year. For some profession, it's maybe in half a year from now. For some professions, it will take 5 to 10 years because the robots are first going to be in the factories, then it's going to be there, and then it's going to be there. Specific professions will require more time for the physical world to adapt. Yeah. There is a lot of stuff. Like physical world is not moving as software. That's why software engineers was disrupted first, because it's software.
Do you think in the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to see an event that is directed by AI and that's going to change lives for everyone? Because again, for example, going to, I don't know, my mom's example, right? She uses AI to search. Her life hasn't really been affected with AI. What do you think the timeline is when everyone experiences something COVID-like, when they're like, oh my God,
honestly, in the next 2 years, probably we'll experience several events like that. We will see a lot of breakthroughs, like an eye-opening breakthroughs in biotech, and like understanding genome and a lot of chemistry as well, new materials. Like we will see a lot, mind-blowing, something which we consider impossible before events within the next 2 years. In the software engineering itself, I think that we will see the entire operating systems and coding languages to be rewritten and like written from the scratch, something which we're actually changing everything we understood before. It will happen likely in the next couple of years.
For sure, in the coming year or so, we will get through several tipping points where there is no way back. It will be already hard to influence where this progress will lead us.
Like what? Do you have any examples?
So, for example, whether big tech companies will have control on who has access. So now it still can be changed, and consumers can affect that. Consumers can demand rules.
The question is like whether market defines the access to the technology or a handful of people.
But if they all become publicly traded, then it's up for stakeholders.
This is the most interesting conversation. Who are the stakeholders?
Yes, so one of the subjects which is not really discussed right now is that, you're right, all of these companies, they are
publicly traded.
They will become publicly traded. Who will control these companies then? For example, do you know what is the share of Dario Amodei, founder of Anthropic, creator of Claude, in his own company? What is the share?
What is it? I know Google owns a lot.
1.5%.
Oh, really?
So when you understand that it's just 1.5%, you understand that
people
who
build it, people who brought their values into this, they are not in control anymore.
Who then in control? Then you find some, it's called long-term trust or something like that. And you see people in this trust, and you won't recognize anyone on this list.
Let me pause for a second. Outside this podcast, I spend a lot of my time around early AI startups, and almost every founder I talk to is building the same kind of thing, an app with AI inside it. And almost every one of them hits the same wall. Their product data lives in one database. The second they add an AI feature, they spin up a separate vector database just for the embeddings. Now it's two systems to sync, two systems to scale, and the AI answers from a stale copy of the data instead of what's actually happening in the app. That's exactly what MongoDB Atlas, today's sponsor, is built for. Atlas keeps your operational data and your embeddings together in one system. You run semantic search and build RAG apps without ever leaving MongoDB. Because everything lives in one place, your app answers from real-time data, not an old copy, and it scales as you grow. And you don't have to figure this out alone. MongoDB built the Atlas Learning Hub, free hands-on courses and skill badges like vector search fundamentals, about an hour each. The link's in the description. Spin up a free cluster and earn your first badge today. Big thanks to MongoDB for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to our conversation. Why would those people who control those organizations decide to stop or pause access?
Because if you create artificial scarcity, you can increase price for as long as you want.
But then an open model, China releases an open model, and people.
But China is not releasing open models. Chinese doing the old corporate trick, except they're doing this on the government level. They lure you with semi-open sourceness because none of their model is actually open source. They're open weight, so no one can repeat. And then when the next version is released, they can easily not open weight it. So just like that, and no one will be able to even continue or do anything with this.
It's not theoretical. You can see how most of the US-based companies, they used to have open models.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not anymore.
None. Yeah, it's so interesting when you see
the Chinese models start to be not open from the very first day of the model release. They put it on the market for a month or 2 or 3, only accessible from their own servers, and then they still play with the open weight game, because what they want for as many people in the world as possible to use their models to actually create the competition to the American models, and then basically lure everyone to use their servers, not open weight on your own server, but our servers in China with Chinese data centers and Chinese chips.
For any tech organization which sells digital products, the first thing that they need to acquire users. As soon as they acquire users, then they usually change the rules. Remember, in 2003, 2004, still Google had a promise that ads will never be in the main feed. It only will be on the site.
But they're still at the top and they're highlighted ads. So they're not in the search, but on top of the search.
But the promise was that it will never be in the main feed. Then the rules changed. And that's what we see in many cases.
But because it's kind of easy, not very easy, but it's kind of easy to move from one model to another. We still have competition on the market. We have Google, Claude, ChatGPT, right? And from my own experience, I switch maybe every 2 weeks. Yes, with now long-term memory that goes across all your chats, it's becoming harder. But if one model decides to 10x their price, I can easily switch. Do you think it's not going to be the case?
But look at then what is also happening in parallel with this luxury of changing between models. Tools which used to be independent for coding, like Cursor or Figma for design, those tools are being steadily integrated into the main product or similar products of the frontier models themselves.
For your chat window. Yeah.
Everything you use, from the calendar to the email, to documentation, to picture generation, to music listening, to buying products. As soon as all of this is already in one ecosystem, that's when it's going to be much more complicated for you to change between the models, just because all of your ecosystem will be in one.
So from this perspective, still, you're right that existence of all of these independent companies, it helps.
Yeah, they prevent authoritarian regimes inside the AI companies. Paint me this worst case scenario. Is it one company?
No, it doesn't have to be one company.
Or 3 company coordinating their efforts.
Or 3 company coordinating their efforts. Like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon today combined is 65 to 70% of global compute. cloud compute.
So they basically own 70% of our future.
When we're talking about AI,
It's everything.
now it's everything. It will disrupt every single industry over the course of the next 5 years.
Let me give you like two versions of the future. In each version, three of us increase productivity 4 times. In one version of the future, this productivity increased because of these three corporations. What they can easily do is to get the entire growth of these margins by increasing the prices of their AI systems. If your productivity, my productivity depends on whether we have access to those models or not, they can set any price.
Yeah.
And that's what we experienced recently. Models haven't become cheaper. Opposite to that, there is version of the future when access guaranteed and we have it as cheap as possible. In this case, each of us become 4 times more productive. We produce 4 times more goods.
And the only question is going to be
whether
we need that much or we will work less.
Oh, we adapt to.
We will adapt and we'll have more and more and more. Like, it's just like details of every single product will be more details, better quality, all of that. Maybe like our houses will be bigger. It's going to be easier and faster to build them.
We'll have more inside our houses, like
we
with
will
the
have
cars.
more stuff inside our houses. Our house finally will become smart houses. The fridge which actually buys its own grocery.
The pipe that fixes itself. Yeah.
The pipe that fixes itself. All this stuff. The promised future of the IoT. Like, likely see some kind of a combination of that. Like, the worst case scenario is not going to look like abruptly everything is stolen. The worst case scenario will look like one by one, industry by industry, absorbed by this new technology. Like, big groceries will be replaced with online delivery, which will be then give more jobs at some specific period of time, but then less as soon as people will be replaced with robots as well. So like, there will be a spike of additional small businesses and additional jobs in some areas, but then decline as well. So it's not going to look like, oh, we're going to hell. Something which we're not going to notice, our freedom will be taken away.
Can you talk more about the loss of freedom? Because the analog situation that I see here is social media, right? We all have access to these amazing videos, but then some people can't stop consumption and they just spend their days scrolling, and fake information is affecting how they make decisions. Do you think it's going to be worse with AI?
I started with this decision making and your research. If you actually ask the question, get a singular answer to this, the source of this information, if it's controlled, defines what you think about the reality around you.
That's what we're talking with some of my friends, because all of our AIs gave us advice to work less. We're like, are they coordinating? Like, what's going on?
We know how powerful narratives are. It's not because of AI in general. It's part of human nature, how storytelling affects us.
The question is like, who's behind it and what's the purpose of people who provide you this?
Does it have to be regulated then? Do you think the government should step in with like all the declarations that we have that we agreed on together as, you know, Western world? Should that be the guidance for AI?
The government's already doing this?
Well, in the US, I think it's hands-off approach.
If you listen all the current leaders of AI industry, they all want the industry to be regulated. We are not so fond of governments in general. We believe that some sort of regulation is nice, but it will be really hard to prevent governments to abuse this power as well. We really like being in United States because of how much freedom people have, how much a government is actually decentralized. Not everything is decided on federal level. Many things decided on state level or even municipal level. At the same time, when we talk about AI regulations, likely it will be federal levels, so not much freedom out there. So we are not as
optimistic
about
on the
regulations where they will take us. But at the same time, we are quite believers in consumer power, how consumers can change how all these companies behave, how they can demand what should be right. And actually even just being vocal about what they want to have.
But I'm
in
thinking
their life.
about OpenAI, Anthropic, and the defense situation. Yeah, people cancel their subscriptions. Actually, we see. I don't know how much that affected what's going on internally. But.
Somewhat affected. Clearly, somewhat affected. It affects employees of these companies as well. Like, because this time it's all about the researchers. Like, the only successful AI labs are those which manage to gather the brilliant minds of the AI researchers, not even engineers, but AI researchers, because the engineering part is now done by AI itself. So like you need to actually think about this rather than code this.
We saw multiple times how those researchers left some organizations because of the ethic disagreements.
With the founders,
so I do believe that right now it's still consumers have quite a big of a power. It won't be like that in a couple of years even. So we don't have...
so?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that the power of these organizations will only increase in our dependence on particular models, in our dependence on having access to the latest model will only increase over time. And I think that's probably the most urgency in the process right now.
What can we do about it?
We can be vocal, we can support every independent project. We do believe that decentralization will play a significant role when people will build AI not based on data centers, but on the community of people who joining forces
it's
together.
Happening step by step. So like several companies are right now providing the service of actually building some micro data center in your house, or like it's a grid of micro data centers when it's less about like a centralized control of a specific corporation. I mean, not necessarily these particular companies are the ones which will lead to this sort of decentralization, but it happened with the power, with the like disconnecting from the grid, having the solar panels and the batteries actually providing all of the electricity at home. This is happening with increasing speed now, as the battery technologies and the solar panel technologies are getting cheaper and more efficient. Similar is actually boiling in a lot of people's mind on how do we decentralize a lot of this. And there is also a chance that because of significant centralization, there are some additional physical barriers, like enough of electricity for such large data centers. Well, if you actually decentralize this home by home with micro data centers, then every single house solar panel with a battery actually can power the massive infrastructure of the AI cloud data center. So participating in projects like this, like even just browsing and searching and researching on what's possible and what's going on in there, and then jumping onto being early adopters of technologies like this will actually help a lot in creating a pressing alternative, like the alternative which not necessarily will become bigger than the large corporations themselves, but will become visible and annoying enough for the large corporations to adopt and change and be less monopolistic. The trick is AI itself, as soon as it's will achieve soon, like in a year from now, likely a certain level of precision and false tolerance and mistake tolerance. They will be making decisions more uncorruptible, more immutable than people themselves, less biased. Like all of this, like we can see now how the call centers industry has been disrupted by AI. Like it's sort of invisible for majority of people because the call centers are somewhere there, like in Asia, somewhere far away. It's been significantly disrupted. We know several multi-billion-dollar companies and smaller businesses which are right now completely switching to the AI call centers. Moreover, it's more efficient. So like a friend of ours their banking system. They given loans, and they used to have the collectors call center. Like people would call you and say like, hey, we can help you to restructure your debt. And usually the people in the bad situation, when they already under the pressure of their actual life situation, plus the bank is calling and they're demanding the money, they are not quite willing to actually even reply to the phone call. So what they managed to do for themselves, they completely replaced the actual real human beings on the other side of the phone. Why? Because the AI happened to be more empathetic. They designed it to be more empathetic. The AI getting into the human being situation much deeper and helps the human being to actually get out of the shitty situation of owning money to the bank.
And they laid off the agency that they used to work with, the call center?
India, somewhere like Philippines, like a lot of this somewhere outside. So that's why we probably don't see this.
Yeah.
We don't feel this change. But there is a lot of moving into the call centers because of this, as I said, empathy. It's a human being quality to be empathetic, but AI can be much more empathetic. And AI can be much more truthful. And as soon as we're getting to this level, the governmental services, logically, should be AI driven. A lot of it. And there will be a huge resistance from the very government itself to be replaced, to be augmented, to become uncorruptible. And that's where we can see that there will be tension.
If you want to create this uncorruptible bureaucracy, it's quite important that this type of artificial intelligence shouldn't be controlled by anyone.
Should not be centralized and
centralized, and none of us wants the future bureaucracy to be controlled by a corporation.
Which won't happen, right? Already, like, because these corporations exist. Do you think there is a chance that there is a world where it's decentralized?
But remember what was with the Bitcoin. The financial world was the most powerful. The Wall Street and the
central banks.
Central banks
can
of the
challenge
world.
them.
No one could have challenged them, and then Bitcoin just happened. Yes, it started like a little bit early, but it was like an invisible a toy. Yeah. But right now it's a rails of financial world. No one can affect the records in the ledger.
For example, privacy and encryption in messengers. The big players didn't want encryption. They didn't care, but then smaller players came,
Signal,
and they
Telegram.
all had to adopt it, and they all had to have it. And this is an example of consumers demanding.
At some point, there will not be difference for majority of the consumers, whether it's Opus or GPT-5 or something which they don't even understand the name of it, but they
for a lot of people it's already the case.
Exactly. Wow. But they prefer to use it because of the aspects which we're saying. Some people will step by step, like it was with Bitcoin. It started with Satoshi himself, then 10 people, then 20, then 100, then 1,000. Now it's hundreds of millions of people actually holding the Bitcoin worldwide.
But Satoshi, he remains unknown to public. I know you're building something in decentralized AI, and you're going to podcasts. Do you have any fears from big corporations
of us disappearing?
No, like, because you're entering a huge market and you're trying to disrupt and build a competitor.
We are not afraid.
You know, with Bitcoin, the privacy of the owner was part of the pitch. Mm-hmm. So it was an important aspect of the service which Bitcoin provided. With AI systems, I don't think that that portion is important. Similar with Ethereum, the founder of Ethereum is out there. Everyone,
but with AI, it will be more like with messengers. You actually want people to find your name there because you want to get connected with people. Yeah. So you want businesses and individuals to be identified, verified inside of the world of AI. Honestly, that's what we actually all should want, is that every participant of the future network of AI is verified and identified. Just because there will be so many of the fake generated for the scam purpose or just like entertainment purpose. It doesn't really matter why, but the internet is getting trashed with a lot of checked information.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, World ID, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are so, like,
because
some people love it. Some people absolutely say, no, never will I provide my retina scan.
But because the trick is, it's like...
It's a private company.
It's a private company.
Moreover,
do you think when it's decentralized, more people will be willing to do that?
Likely.
If you can demonstrate in open source manner that no one can have access to this data, for sure. The problem with World ID is that it's a black box, and this black box is controlled by one company. No one knows what is inside of this eyeball and things like that. So that's what scares people. For sure, in the world we are entering, this all will be important subjects to discuss. And I hope that people will be more educated about the abundance which AI can bring. At the same time, what other risks and how we can mitigate them. With that type of change, it's quite new. It's actually one of the important things that it is first technology which speaks our language. And this a little bit like affects us all, because all of the previous protections, psychological protections, barriers which we had, this system can overcome, because now it's like human being, because it speaks our language. But at the same time, it's greatest opportunity because there is no barrier. Even when you software engineer, you only talk with those systems.
Yeah.
You stop coding, like you stop writing.
Yeah, we're talking to our computers.
So because of that, I think that this also the greatest opportunity for equality, because everyone
if everyone have equal access to this technology, then everyone can achieve their highest potential.
Yeah.
In the world where people will be losing jobs, if you can come back home saying I'm unemployed now, and then AI will tell you what next you can do, and you can just like choose in between.
Vibe code a new startup.
Vibe code, like not necessarily everyone going to be a startup, but at the same time, I personally believe that we will see the explosion of smaller businesses. Like we will see the decorporativization of industries if we have equal access to AI. The same way social media affected small businesses in terms of like now anyone can start a business online and sell whatever, like clothes, jewelry, cosmetics, like whatever it is, products for dogs, for kids, like through this new channel, more small businesses happen to be successful. We will see that tenfold with AI if access is not limited.
If access is not limited, what should people be doing now to thrive in 2 or 3 years?
First of all, you definitely need to at least try to adopt these tools. In our bubble, everyone tried to use agents.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's just
a couple million people
of us,
in the entire world who actually trying to do
so this. People should be much more open to educate themselves and to implement this in their current workflows, in the way how they
plan their days, do their job. Do definitely their household planning, like all of this.
This is quite an important thing. I remember that when we used to have a game development studio, we hired an artist. He didn't have much of the portfolio like at that moment. I remember it was just a couple pictures, but they impressed us quite a bit. So we hired...
The talent was clearly there.
And all our other artists had much greater experience at that moment. But this guy, every time when new tool appeared, he wasn't resisting, but just jumped in and used it.
Use it. Try to understand what's the best thing he can get out of this.
And in just couple of years, we got a message from him that he got a proposal from Blizzard, one of
the top game development studio in the world at the time.
And he will not refuse it. And for us, it was for sure he will want to work in this company, especially in the cinematic division when you do this beautiful movie shots. And so he got there, and like in then a couple of years,
never stopped. He advanced himself into robotics, into this, into that. Like as soon as you could consume the change, the new,
it fuels
accept,
you.
it fuels you into continue and never stopping.
I know that for some is a little bit scary to use these tools, or when they are new, they're a little bit sloppy.
But just make it a habit to spend at least an hour a day instead of watching Netflix or browsing Instagram to actually see what you can do, to deploy,
so
research.
We recently found ourselves with several groups of friends doing hackathons at house, at the dinner. You know, it's a culture when you just sit down and you have 1 hour to build some stuff.
It's important to say it's not technical people.
Yeah. So we did it multiple times, and it's so fun. Like what you can build just in 1 hour, and you can have it on your phone immediately, and you all can try, and you all can laugh.
Not necessary it is going to be useful, but the fact that you have this physical experience of achieving this in just 1 hour with a group of your friends who actually never had experience of building software before, it changes the perspective. So like our advice would be just use the AI.
I also write a newsletter where I go deeper on AI tools that I use, career strategies, and things I can't fit into a 60-minute podcast. It's free. Link is in the description. Okay, I could talk about this for another hour. I have a blitz to wrap up with. So it's like a short answer. Will AI be able to do most intellectual work for humans in 3 years?
Yes.
If it does, what is left for humans?
The same.
Creativity,
collaboration,
to make decisions in your life, what you want to have in your life. This is would be quite important. In world of abundance is actually will be a
more
quite
things
complex
to do.
task to decide what exactly how you want to live your life.
Because you have everything, Will AI create more jobs than it destroys?
The nature of jobs might change, but it might change in a much longer horizon. I believe AI first will create a lot of new jobs, and then the idea of job might change and dissipate in 10, 15 years from now. Maybe 30 years. Like this is a longer horizon.
Will today's market leaders still be leading 5 years from now, or will we have some emergent player?
Likely. So look, Anthropic haven't existed
3 years, 4 years ago. Like not in
actually,
your era,
if you look all the incumbents, all the big companies we had before, all of them lost the AI game. Maybe Google still have some place, but all the rest, they actually weren't successful. Every time when someone point out that all this big company will be competitor to you, I don't take it seriously, because big companies, they're really slow. And smaller players, they have much more chances to actually build something.
So yes, we will see a lot
we'll
of
steal
new,
them.
Someone new. Likely those who we see right now might change a little bit in terms of like mergers and acquisitions, like becoming one, some of them, or just disappearing and losing the competition to the rest. But there will still be the same 10 companies of the Silicon Valley, which are each trillion-dollar company, multi-trillion-dollar company, in 3, 5, 10 years from now. Likely they're not going to go away. Will something new happen?
Totally.
For sure.
Okay.
Totally.
Okay. Will humanity choose to limit AI development, or will we keep building at full speed?
I think that there is no much way to limit the AI development. But at the same time, the limiting factor is already right now hardware. chip manufacturing. And hardware
It's slow.
is much slower in the way it develops. So already we'll see a slowdown of development of AI in the nearest future. But at the same time,
Yet it likely tenfold in the next 5 years.
Okay. And the last question, I think I know the answer, but what's the most underrated move someone could make tomorrow to have more control over their life in 10 years?
Love yourself.
invest time in your development, for sure. It always was a good advice. Currently, it's actually much more important.
No, it's like
The world
you
is
cannot.
changing.
Yeah.
The world is changing, and without actually educating yourself, you're losing a lot of opportunities.
I thought you were going to say run a little data center inside your house.
This is
That's
what
another
I'm
one.
saying. It's just
Yeah.
in different words.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for being modern age philosophers and also for building something that's really exciting for this new age. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this great conversation.